The Sustainable Livelihoods Foundation research has brought to our attention the urgent need to start addressing the problem of illicit harvesting in Cape Town. Fundamentally, the rates at which biodiversity is being extracted from Cape Town's nature reserves are simply not sustainable. Important biodiversity and endemic species will be lost, and many livelihoods supported by the trading of harvested products from the reserves will no longer be viable. The Sustainable Livelihoods Foundation, or SLF, are working with the City of Cape Town and have received financial support from Chicago Zoological Society and the Rufford Small Grants Foundation to develop and implement a range of pilot projects to these harvesting issues. One of these projects, which this video will showcase, is the biodiversity mapping SLF has carried out in Cape Town's nature reserves. The main goal of this project is to develop a methodological process and tools for benchmarking local biodiversity for future conservation efforts. SLF focused specifically on the most commonly harvested biodiversity from protected areas within Cape Town. SLF conducted this research in Rondevlei and Tygerberg nature reserves, which were identified by the City of Cape Town as being areas of priority, as these reserves experience the highest threat levels. Tygerberg is one of the current harvesting hotspots of the city.
The area we're in was burnt about a month ago, and you can, if you look around, you can see that there's not a lot of regeneration.
However, this presented an important opportunity for measuring the commonly harvested Tulbaghe capensis species, or wild garlic.
Garlic is amazing because here we've got this plant in full flower 1 month after a burn, so it's really quite precocious.
In areas with a dense population of wild garlic, the circular plot method was used. These circular plots were 2 meters in radius, and within these areas, SLF counted the individual garlic plants. This circular plot was then waypointed with a GPS. This kind of measurement opens up potential for researchers to return to these sites over time and make comparisons of the densities of garlic plants after the next burn. The second method used was cluster level measurements of the wild garlic in 100 meter by 10 meter transects. SLF took measurements of clusters of garlic within 10 meter block square units within this transect. A waypoint on the GPS was taken at the beginning and at the end of this transect. This wider scale measurement was carried out to achieve more of a general impression of the density and distribution of wild garlic. While SLF was carrying out the research, they also documented habitat information on the garlic. For example, an important observation made was that the garlic tended to reside on ridges.
If you look around here, you can see where there have been excavations, and I wonder whether that's where garlic may have been taken in the past, because it doesn't look like, with the size of rocks that have been moved, it doesn't look like that's a porcupine or one of the fossorial mammals. It looks very much like it's people.
On the second site, SLF looked at Tygerberg, which had not been burned for over 10 years. However, there are much evidence of poaching that took place. This included damaged fences, makeshift pathways that were forming as poachers repeatedly returned to harvested sites, and tools for extraction of garlic such as pickaxes and spades. Rondevlei Nature Reserve, similarly to Tygerberg, suffers from high threat levels to its biodiversity. This is largely due to the reserve's proximity to the informal settlement Lavender Hill on its southern boundary, which provides an easy access point for poachers. Damaged fences were observed, affirming this as a site of illicit entry. Given its propensity to harvesting, the southern boundary of the reserve became a natural starting point in which to begin the biodiversity mapping process. Under the expert advice of the former manager of Rondevlei Nature Reserve, Dalton Gibbs, the researchers sought out the most commonly harvested species. Rondevlei has a very dense vegetation and challenging terrain, which made circular plot measurements the most suitable method. Population counts of the species identified by Gibbs were carried out within these circular plots, and the site was waypointed on the GPS. Within Rondevlei Nature Reserve, the Hermanthus species were found to be in abundance, including the Coccinia and pubescent species. The habitat in which these species mostly occurred was in the drier and sand dune areas. The GPS data collected within these reserves has been converted into secure digital format maps by the City of Cape Town. These maps effectively capture a snapshot in time where conservation managers will know what species grew where. Crucially though, this strategy of biodiversity mapping is a low-cost intervention which is indispensable in the face of declining conservation budgets. These data and maps are being inherited by the City of Cape Town for use as future conservation management tools in light of the growing informal economy of wild resources harvesting within the city.